So hello, hope this is reaching well. So yesterday we heard, one of the markets on Poly Market was basically the topic was, will Eric Adams drop out? So he basically is the current New York City mayor, and he's obviously contesting to be re-elected. But there has been obviously a lot going on in terms of certain charges, corruption charges has taken place, and so he's under immense pressure. So currently his popularity has dropped, right? And there's a rife competition with people like Mamdani and Chris Como and so on and so forth. So basically since July, it has been trending that whether he will drop out, and it's been trending around this 40% mark. It actually spiked lower to about 23%, which was August, so like last week. And then we saw, which was yesterday, on the 3rd, we saw an interesting spike from 28% that he will drop out, all the way up to like 63%, all the way up to like 43%, 60%, and today we're hovering around 66%. So if you take a look at that, when you see a sudden spike that happens, clearly there's some form of news. Looking at this yesterday, and if you look at like the comment section, there was really no information that was happening. But then if you pop along, and then we saw probably a few hours later, we had news, for example, like on major news stations, publications were then coming out, basically talking about Trump's administration discussing potential roles for Adams, Sliwa, to clear path for Como. So what they're basically saying is they're basically trying to pave the way for him essentially to drop out of the race. So this will give an opportunity for him possibly to actually then support Como. But then for him to drop out of the race, you then get potentially a lot of his supporters will then say, well, they may not go vote for Mamdani, but they're looking to go for a viable, tangible candidate they believe is Chris Como. And then for that, Trump, who clearly doesn't want Mamdani because of obviously his views, what he stands for, doesn't want him to become the next mayor. So clearly there's an alignment there. So this news data came out a few hours after we saw a spike in the price. So what I'm saying is, what you're starting to see now, you're starting to see prediction markets clearing away, giving you this leading, this heads up, right? This leading indicator of certain news based on this market and other markets that we currently see on this platform. So this is giving you details, and I think where we're seeing this, and I'm going to obviously provide more details afterwards, is that there's going to be a viability, there's going to be let's just say this room for participants, maybe not necessarily competing with Poly Market, but building on top of their infrastructure, where they can actually provide more content in terms of aggregation of data, analytics, right? So you can be able to then monitor and see, okay, this is the current activity right now. Seeing the holders, right? Understanding more of the holders, whether there's synergies between, does this specific holder have multiple wallets, right? So obviously we see two different users, but could they actually be the same person or entity? But they're basically breaking down those wallets to be able to minimize the chance that people believe that it's just one big whale, right? And this one big whale could be actually insider, could be someone within the Eric Adams team, party, whatever, has an insight of what's happening. So after that news came out, Adams actually came out and actually denied. He denied being offered Trump a job in exchange for quitting the race. But what we're seeing is normally with that information, you would probably see a move lower in terms of that initial spike will potentially subside based on that data. But no, that's not the case. So This is just giving you a heads up where you can now start to use this information to your advantage. When you see this spike, you can look at hedging plays. You can look at taking positions on yes and saying, okay, at that when it was around 40%, we're seeing inside information. You can then start looking at analytics of wallets. You can then start looking at what the data is telling you. You can look at various portals, i.e. Twitter, Reddit, to see what's actually occurring and then take an advantage. And I think hence the reason why you're going to see some very savvy investors. You're going to see a lot more automated bots, algorithms that's going to come out that's going to really take advantage of this white space, let's just say, where there's a lot of free money that's taking place. So anyway, just giving you a heads up what's going on. Bye-bye.